So I think that went good. I had a great time in Maine for my first time, which I've never been, which I enjoyed. And I got to fly again. So only the five of us went, such as me, my brother, his girlfriend, also his fiance, my mom, and my dad. Remember, like I said, how it worked was when we left that Wednesday or that Thursday. Um, we drove up to my brother's apartment, where he used to live in Burlington, close to Florence, which sadly he doesn't live there anymore. He got him a new house in Shepherdsville. Um, but yeah, I had a fun time. It was really nice. We spent the night there, then we got up, drove to the airport. We got to fly again. Remember, like I said, we flew from Cincinnati Airport to Newark and then from Bangor. At first, I didn't know that they had Cincinnati in Kentucky. I only knew there was Louisville and Lexington, but I never knew there was Cincinnati. And when I heard about it, I thought it was actually in Cincinnati in Ohio, but it's actually in northern Kentucky, right outside of Indiana. But I had a good time flying. I enjoyed it. I mean, I got to fly in because I've not flown since I was 12 years old. It's been 12 years since I've flown. When I went to California back in 2013 to see my Aunt Jackie for Christmas, which I had a good time. I mean, I had fun going to Maine. Just like when I go to Florida or Alabama or either Kings Island or Cedar Point or Carowinds. Just pretty much anywhere I go. Just like even New York or DC. Same thing. But it was so fun going places. Even Disneyland or Dollywood or Kentucky Kingdom or Holiday World. Just kidding. Never been to any of those amusement parks except for Kings Island, Cedar Point, Dollywood, and Disneyland. I've always wanted to go to Carowinds, Holiday World, and Kentucky King, and other places, even King's Dominion, same thing. But I had a good time. I mean, Maine was nice. We got to fly from Cincinnati to Newark, and I saw the New York City skylines, like the World Trade Center, and of course, the Empire State Building. It was so fun. I enjoyed it. Then we flew from there to Bangor. Then we stayed one day in Ellsworth at a hotel, and the next day we went to the Bar Harbor and walked around. And we stayed at a very nice Airbnb or Verbo house, something like that. But it was so nice. But if y'all know, I had fun flying. Really, really cool. When I flew and the plane, it was nice. We did a lot of fun things in Maine. We flew when we got to Maine, we stayed a whole week there. We went on a 4-hour boat ride where we saw seals, puffins, and lighthouses. Then, one day, we went on a Cadillac Mountain. Did you know that the Cadillac Mountain is the first place where the sun rises in the morning in the U.S., where you can see it rise in the east? And that's where my brother proposed to his girlfriend. However, I wanted to watch him do it, but he wanted to do it privately. I was like, be my guest, Bubby. I really wanted to watch him do it, but he just wanted to do it privately. But yeah, and I was so happy. First thing I saw Megan, which my new fiance-in-law, my sister-in-law soon. I walked up to her. First thing I looked at her, I was like, congratulations, fiance-in-law. I was so happy for it. But yeah, Maine was really nice. It was cooler up there. When I first got to Bangor Airport, which was a tiny airport, not as big as Lexington, but when I first walked outside, it felt cool. Like it wasn't as hot. That almost made me feel like I was in Alaska. But when I noticed that it wasn't as hot there, it was nice and cool. However, I did jump in the cold water. And my dad, which I call him Padre because he's a retired Spanish teacher, he's like, Jacoby, that water's cold. He's like, I know, Padre, but I still have to jump in. And it's like, just that way I can jump in. I've jumped in water in Maine. It's like, kind of like the polar plunge. It's like, all right, it's going to be cold. Like, I couldn't go to Maine. I couldn't go on that boat ride without jumping in the water. Ooh, this is cold. Freezing. Get me out of this water. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold. It's cold. Now, y'all want to hear something funny? I noticed that I'm glad I had my mask on like this because my brother forgot that it was salt water. He jumped in the water for a second. Guess what? He had his mouth open. He got salt water in his mouth. And he was going... I was like, Bobby, what are you doing? It's like, that's got salt water. I was like, I forgot this water. So I was like, get it out of your mouth. It's like, that's got salt water in it. Just laughing. But he was okay. But yeah, that's what happened when I was in Maine. But Maine was so cool. Again, I had a good time in Maine. The house was nice. It wasn't right on the ocean, but you could see the water from the house. You had to do it was like a 2-minute walk, but it was worth it. But the house was old, but it was being remodeled. Oh, it was kind of an old house, but it was still nice to go. But I had me some food. I had me pizza, burgers, not hot dogs. I had me chicken sandwiches. I had me an egg roll, BLT, and I had shrimp. And I did have me buy a lobster, and it was good. I didn't eat it by, but my dad had a lobster that was like that big. But we went to a place called Bill's that had live lobsters. Oh my god, they were that big. I'm like, holy crap, that is so insane. They're big. I even holded a lobster, and I wasn't scared of it. It didn't pinch me because its pinches were banded up. But I had a good time helping the lobster. I wasn't scared. And I did see a seal with a big lobster in its mouth. But Maine was a blast. I mean, it's not as cool as Florida, but it was nice and cool. I wouldn't mind to go to Portland, or have to go to Augusta, or go to York Beach. But when we flew back home, we had two options. We could either get up at 6 a.m. or get there at 2. Well, when we got to Bangor, we had a little delay because there were some storms in the Mideast. But when we flew from Bangor, we flew from there to O'Hare Chicago Airport, which is where the movie Home Alone and Home Alone 2 took place. That's where they had that's where the airport was filmed. But oh my god, that was a big airport. I mean, it was super big. Like, you had one terminal here. We had to go down an escalator. We go under underground moving sidewalk. We're under a tunnel. We go up another escalator. We're on the other side. That is a big airport. But it's not as big as Jackson Airport in Atlanta, which is the busiest airport in the U.S. Or it's not as big as Denver Airport, which is the biggest in the U.S. by building size. But they're not just the biggest in the U.S. They're the biggest, like Atlanta Jackson Airport, however you pronounce it. That's the busiest airport, not just in the U.S., but in North America. And Denver Airport's not just the busiest airport, it's not just the biggest airport by building size in the U.S., in Colorado. It's the biggest in North America. You know what I mean. But, yeah. So that's pretty much our main trip. And then we were stranded there for 3 hours because there were bad storms in the Midwest, and we had to wait for a flight attendant. But finally, after 3 hours, I'm just laying on the ground sleeping, and I hear some coming. I was like, what's going on? I was like, hey! I'm like, we can go! But, yeah, we got to fly, and we got to fly at night. We had first class. The plane we flew home, it had TVs on it, but I didn't watch a movie. You could watch movies or play games. I didn't watch a movie because we were only there for like 40 minutes. So I just videoed the whole time on the plane. It was dark out. We did fly over Chicago too, and I've been to Chicago, but I didn't get to, the time I went back in high school with the percussion, I didn't get to go up in the Wills Tower, which used to be the Sears Tower. I didn't get to go up in it. I really wanted to, but when we were flying by over Chicago, because we flew over Detroit as well, and we flew over the two Great Lakes of Lake Erie and Lake Michigan, which I couldn't see Cedar Point because we were high up, but we flew over Canada, which was really nice. I enjoyed it. But as we got back home, when we got to Chicago, I could see the John Hancock Tower, and I could see the Wills Tower. I was higher than that. Like, Chicago's like half the size of New York. Chicago's the third biggest state in the U.S. by population, but it's the second biggest state in the U.S. with tall buildings after New York. So I have been to Chicago and New York. Just like D.C., same thing. But I like New York. I prefer New York. It was nicer. Not just the people. I ain't scared. I'm not worried about people. I'm just talking about building sizes. Like, I got to go up in the One World Trade Center. I flew over the One World Trade Center and the Empire State Building when we were going to Maine. But we were there till dark. But then we finally got back to Cincinnati Airport. Pardon me. When we got back to Cincinnati, it was like 1:15 in the morning, almost like 2:15. And we got back to my brother's apartment. We just packed our stuff up. We drove back, had an Uber pick us up took us to the airport and took us back. Then we went home. But yes, we drove home. We didn't get home till 5:30 in the morning because of us being stranded all night at the airport. So when we got home, I just had to take a quick shower and then put a few things up. It's like, I'll just put the rest of the stuff up later. I'm going to bed. So I just go to bed and I sleep all day. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened during my event to Maine. And I would love to go back to Maine, just like Florida. Even California. I could go anywhere. Go to Canada, Mexico, anywhere. I'd like to go to the Burj Khalifa building someday, but if I can't go there, I'll just wait for the Jeddah Tower and go to the Jeddah Tower when it becomes the tallest. But yeah, I'm a travel person. Whether I travel by a plane, a car, or a helicopter, or train, which I've ridden the train once from Union Station to Penn Station when I went to D.C. to New York, and back there, all the way back. But yeah, so that's pretty much what happened in Maine. So, but I hope y'all enjoy this story about Maine. But yeah, if you've never been to Maine, I recommend going. We went to Bar Harbor, which was nice. It was cool there. It wasn't like Florida, but it was still nice to visit. And I got me some seashells and other stuff. But yeah, I saw a lighthouse. They weren't tall enough for us to go up in, but I've not been. Last time I went to a lighthouse when I was like 3, when I was at Tybee Island in Georgia, or 2, between 2 and 3. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So if y'all pretty much enjoyed this, I hope you did, which is good. But yeah, that's pretty much my main story about my trip to Maine. And of course, I had to do things like video elevators, escalators, ceiling fans, my weather radios, flying, and other stuff, and swimming in the lake. I forgot, I did go to Lake Echo Lake, which was a little cool. It wasn't as cold. It was cold for seconds I got in, but then I got used. I just swim in there. I had my brother and my mom watched me swim. They didn't get in, but I swam for about like 30 minutes, half an hour. It was nice. And we climbed up the really tall mountain where we could see all over. Almost we could see like in Maine. That was the first mountain I ever climbed. We climbed up to the Bubble Rock. They had a Bubble Rock there. We were going to go to a Thunder Hole, but it was too foggy and slippery and we didn't want to fall. But that's pretty much my main story. So again, if you've not been to Maine, I recommend going. I had fun flying, but yeah. And other stuff. But yeah. I look forward to going to Florida again this fall or something, but I'd love to go back to Maine. Maine was nice. That is now as far as northeast I've been. Pretty much, I was almost in Canada. Can't you believe that? I wasn't too far from Canada. Because last time when I went north, as far north as I've been is to Ohio, is to Cedar Point, or to Chicago. Like, California is all the way west. And pretty much west I can go, but pretty much the only state west I've been. But Panama is as far as east I've been. And Maine, Bar Harbor, and Ellsworth is now as far as northeast I've been. Last time I went to New York, now that's as far as north. And that's the state all the way up north I've been, which is famous for lobsters. Yeah, but it's really nice in Maine. So if y'all not going, I'd recommend y'all going. But Maine is really awesome. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video about Maine. So yeah, that's what I pretty much did in Maine. So if y'all enjoyed that, that's good. But I would love to go back to Maine. My dad's been to Maine twice, a long time ago, and this time. That was my first time I've been to Maine. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. Always. I'd love to go back to Maine again. I have my desire to go back to Maine. Maybe I could go to York Beach. But I love going to Florida too. But I need to go to Miami or somewhere, anywhere, all the way down there too. Or I could go to the Key West. I could go to anywhere else. I could go to Miami. I could go to Jacksonville. I could go to Tampa. I could go to Tallahassee, see the capital, Orlando, St. Augustine. I need to go to Texas someday. Maybe Hawaii and Alaska. But I'd love to go to Alaska. Not just because of that, but you know the show, the Hawaii Five-0, the that, which I love. Very nice. That'd be a fun place to get married. So, anyway, have a have a good day, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this. And again, I love going to Maine. Augusta, I could go there and see the capital. Portland, the biggest city. York Beach, and go back to Bangor. But I should go to Canada so I could sing the "Oh Canada, our home and native land." That anthem song. Go to Ottawa. Go to Toronto. Go up in the CN Tower. Go all over Canada. Even Mexico. Same thing. Alright, guys. I'm afraid that's all I have time for now. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. But again, I had a good time in Maine. And sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delays. But just been busy. So, this was back in July. I went from July 3rd to the 11th. It was a whole time. I had kind of like Florida. Sometimes we go to Florida. Sometimes we stay in a hotel. Sometimes we just drive all the way up there. Which I hate driving all the way up there. We had to last time because of that dumb hurricane. But hopefully we'll try to get a hotel this time when we go to Florida. Maybe in Andalusia again or something. Let's hope it works. Hope there's no hurricane. Who knows what will happen. Who knows if I may not go to Florida this time. If I can't, if a hurricane, I don't know. I may go, I may not. Who knows, but... Alright, guys. I've been like 16 minutes video. So, alright, guys. That's all I have for now. So, hope y'all enjoyed this video about Maine. If you have any comments, let me know. And comment what I should do if I go back to Maine, or where should I go. Or if I go somewhere else, comment what I should do there. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. Until then, I look forward to going back to Maine. Alright, guys. There y'all go for right now. Until then, that's going to be it. Until then, peace.